What up, everybody? Bonzo here. Hope everybody's having a great week, great January. I can't believe that the month is already almost over. It's flying by. I've been moving up Legends League, starting to get consistent good keys every tournament. I wanted to make a quick video talking about some just general tips that I've learned. With further ado, let's get into it. And looking here, you'll see my stats. I'm at 98 keys. I'm literally 2 away. I'm 2 keys away from getting auto restart. So the big goal that I put out to get auto restart is almost upon us. I've almost got it. I'm so excited. Knock on wood, but I should be getting it essentially tomorrow night because there's a tournament today at the time of this recording. And initially I had said that I was going to hold off on just more damage upgrades, and I was going to then look into getting more Econ because I put that off for the last couple of months, but I've changed my mind on that. And that's something that I wanted to discuss today. But the first tip that I wanted to give is in glass cannon farming, if you have your second wind recharge all the way down to 400, in my opinion, second wind is a more valuable perk than slow aura. I had been using slow aura because obviously you want enemies to be slow. However, I started dying to fleets and I was farming mostly tier 15. Now, fleets are, I believe they spawn every 500 waves on tier 15. So as I was moving up, I would notice that when I was farming slow aura, I would sometimes on wave 2000, I'd get eliminated, which would suck. So what I did was I took off slow aura and I put on second wind. And then if an overcharge destroyed my tower at wave 2000, I would actually have time for it to recharge, and my run would still go on to over 4,000 waves. So with glass cannon, you can get, a fleet that comes along and just wipes out your tower, but in reality, it's kind of just bad luck with the fleet. Sure, yeah, you could get more EHP so you don't have to deal with it. But for me, because I have a really well-developed chrono field, just putting on second wind gave me a bit more survivability instead of slow aura. So if you're kind of short on glass cannon cards, I'd say second wind with a good recharge outweighs slow aura for your glass cannon farming. All right, tip number 2 is a sync at 100 seconds is almost always going to overperform using Black Hole Digester and then Gcomp, or just Gcomp in and of itself. Gcomp is super valuable when you are at, long cooldowns on your ultimates. But for me, I've got 100 seconds on Golden Tower and Death Wave, and my Black Hole's permanent. So for me, when I run Gcomp, even when I ran it in the assist slot, it was good, but it wasn't quite as good as when I respec my bot and my summon. I got my summon to 100 seconds, 100 second cooldown, 35 second duration. I also got my golden bot to a 50 second cooldown, so that's also in sync. Tried using Singularity Harness for the first time, and my gems, I think I recorded, they went up by 20 to 40%, so quite a bit. There just really is such a value in the golden bot. I've even seen some Reddit posts of people talking about the value of an extra 15 meters on golden bot, and their coins are literally double or triple. You forget with all the multipliers you get, spotlights times 3, that's nice. But the black hole, the golden tower, those are times 10, times 20 or 30 in this case when I get the perk. So you get these massive multipliers. Then Death Wave's an additional 2, but that additional bit on top means you're going from a 400x multiplier to then a 1600x multiplier for the coins within the golden bot. So for me, I've been using Primordial Collapse, which actually this goes into tip number 3, is don't sleep on Primordial Collapse for glass cannon farming as your primary module. You're always going to, in my opinion, want Dimension Core. Well, Dimension Core is just the best core module in the game. If I had another one of these Ancestral, I'd have it as a farming module, but I run it in my assist, and I run it in my assist to get the damage because of the passive for the unique here. But I started using Primordial Collapse just to get more black hole coverage, and I've noticed that my coins have gone up just slightly. Here's what they were before, and you see I got a little bit better here, a little bit lower here, so it still kind of is too early to really tell if it's better or not, but it looks like it's a slight increase just because with the more black hole coverage, you're getting more enemies that get the coin bonus. Ideally, though, I would want a Dimension Core as the primary core module, and then in my assist, get the Primordial Collapse, because I still have 3 black holes, regardless of whether it's epic or ancestral. And the damage reduction doesn't really mean much in glass cannon because everything causes so much damage and it's going to one-shot you anyways. Tip number 4 is don't get fixated on just Golden Bot. So I had gotten Golden Bot 50 seconds and like 42 seconds duration. I'm pretty close to getting this maxed out, but I was like, spending 1,000 medals on getting 20 basis points of bonus is not near as valuable just unlocking Amplify Bot for 300 medals. And you could say, well, Bonzo, those 1,000 medals, you're increasing it from 6.8 to 7.0 for an entire 50 seconds over the course and yada, yada, yada. But it's not an exponential increase. It's all linear. If it was you spent 1,000 medals and it increased by like 40 basis points or 60 basis points, that's another argument. But these are linear upgrades. And so in my opinion, getting a little bit more damage with the Amplify Bot rather than just fixating on maxing out Golden Bot is more beneficial in Glass Cannon. I noticed a little bit farther farming, which means more cells and coins, but if you think about it, getting an unlock of Amplify Bot at 300 seconds to give you 20 seconds every 2 minutes, so that's roughly 18% of the time, you're going to get a 3x damage increase to about a quarter of the map. You could probably factor that out to an additional like 1% overall damage, which I would think is more valuable than 3 times that amount of medals for one tiny click for another half-second duration of Golden Bot or 20 basis points of bonus. I know people say just stick with maxing this out, just get it maxed out, yada yada yada. What I'm going to keep doing is putting my medals into Amplify Bot, get it pretty well. I'm not really going to worry about duration, because if you think about it, every 3 seconds I cool this down, this cooldown, it's essentially equal to 6 of these upgrades, because each of these upgrades for duration is a half-second increase. But if I can lower the cooldown by 3 seconds, that's equal to 6 clicks in duration of just overall uptime. So I'm going to be focused on cooldown, bonus, and then range for the Amplify Bot. And when I really get maxed out with my, say, Econ months down the line, what I will most likely do is respec my bots, go in and then completely max out Golden Bot, and then go back to Amplify. Which, yes, will probably hurt my tournaments and my pushing a little bit. But when you weigh the opportunity cost of these bots, it's hard to justify getting just 1 click of Golden Bot when you could unlock, quite a bit of Amplify to help your farming go a little bit farther. The next tip that I wanted to give was the assist mod substats. These are huge, and it's something that I didn't really realize until a last stream. I think it was 589, so shout out to you. When you look at these, if you look at this, I got 7 seconds of chrono field duration here. And if I I can't put this on as the assist, but because of my substat efficiency of 29%, 0.29 times 2 seconds, or times 7 seconds is like 2.01. So when this is my assist slot, I get an additional 2 seconds of chrono field duration, which saves me from 2 more levels of the chrono field lab or 2 more clicks of the stones for chrono field duration. That can mean that the battle condition, where the cooldowns lengthen, I don't have to worry about it because I'll have 1 minute and 10 seconds of cooldown there. Now, what it also comes into is looking at what I currently have. You'll see with my percentages, I've got almost a whole other inner landmine, which is good. And I've got here 1.16 chain lightning quantity. Now, I don't have this 6th slot open, but when I do, I'm going to get an entire other quantity of chain lightning, which in theory means that I'm going to go from 5 quantity to 6. So that's like, what, a 15% increase in damage? It probably wouldn't equate to an overall 15% increase in damage, but probably like a 10. So just from having that good substat, I'm going to be getting a whole other chain lightning quantity, which is just going to grow my damage base even more. So that's why I would say the core multiplier for your modules is probably more efficient than the generator or cannon, for example. Also, the multiplier efficiency is very important because this 12.12 multiplies by this, which just exponentially increases your damage. But at the same point, you don't want to sleep on your substat efficiency. This is one of those don't become fixated on one thing, because I even got the cannon multiplier because these are starting to get so pricey, and they're an increase to damage, yes, or ultimate weapon damage, But if I can increase my normal damage, that's just going to mean more ultimate weapon damage, since ultimate weapon damage is a multiplier on your normal damage. It increases the base level, which the other one multiplies, and it grows from there. My tip here is don't sleep on the substat efficiencies, as they'll get you. Those module sub-effects are pretty strong, so do not sleep on those. The other tip that I'd wanted to add in here, and this is regarding range in tournaments, is I would do, and if you've tuned into my lives, I usually do like 4 to 6 tournament runs. I would experiment with shorter range and longer range. I don't have workshop orb adjuster yet, so my workshop orbs are at 76.45 meters. What I have found is running my tournaments at this range actually does significantly better than at a higher or at a max range, which I didn't think would make sense because having more range should mean more damage per meter, more time for your tower to react. However, since I'm mostly a chain lightning damage dealer, what it does is having shorter range means the enemies are closer, which means more bounce shots and then more damage. So at least test out what optimal range would be for you in your tournaments and, see what works best. Every tower is different, but for me, a 76.45 meter range is what works best in my tournaments, which also means I don't need to use the range card, which frees up cards for like area effect or something else important. The other tip that I want to discuss here is regarding shockwave. I had thought I'm going to keep researching shockwave size. I'm going to get this maxed out. And I had actually recently re-rolled my anti-cube portal. I thought, you know what, I'm going to get shockwave frequency and shockwave size. It'll be great. What I realized was that at my tournaments, I'm doing best at 76.45 meter range. If I got too much in shockwave size, what that'll mean is, yes, it'll go outside the tower range, but at a certain point, there's diminishing returns. So in my farming runs, if my shockwave is too big, it'll push enemies out of the black hole, and I'll actually miss out on coins. For tournaments, all you need is your shockwave to go slightly outside your tower range to get fleets. So how you can kind of tell is obviously you just watch and see what happens, and you find what range works best for you in your tournaments. And if you find that 76.45 works for you, you'll want to upgrade your shockwave size lab. Just upgrade it to the point that your shockwave will go slightly outside your tower range to tag the fleets so you can eliminate them quicker. Simple as that. But the additional size on the module, it's a little bit overkill, diminishing returns, and there's much better substats here, which actually leads to my next tip, which is the orbs. Getting more orbs and more orb speed is massive. They intentionally made the orb labs very quick. You can get orb speed and orb boss hit damage maxed out very fast, and there'll be some tournaments where my energy net will hit, these mines will hit, which it's kind of outside the range, but sometimes others will stun it in a sense, and I'll have like 30 to 60% boss damage just from the orbs. So getting extra orbs, so in your tournaments you have that going, and they're going faster, just means more crowd control with eliminating enemies, and more importantly, hitting bosses. So don't sleep on that. My last little tip is don't be afraid to switch out your farming modules on core. I had Harmony Conductor going for a while, and it's great. I get the chance that they miss. I only was really running this because I don't have much other good core, say like farming modules. I want Multiverse Nexus at Ancestral. I don't have it yet. However, I switched it up to Primordial Collapse, which I used in EHP because of the damage reduction. And even though I don't need the damage reduction, getting the extra black hole does give me a little bit more coin generation, because as you see, when my chain lightning's going out, enemies are getting hit, the black hole covers them, and then I get the coin bonus on it. Which, yes, you could get all fancy and say, oh, reduce your bounce shot range, don't use Astral Deliverance in your assist mod. I mean, I'm farming tier 16, so I want the extra damage. But test things out. That's really the last tip, is don't be afraid to switch out modules, test things, and really find what works best for your tower and your upgrades. But yeah, that's it, y'all. Hope you enjoyed. If there's any tips that you've learned in the last few weeks, obviously feel free to drop them in the comments and drop any questions. Usually streams are Tuesday and Friday, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, so I will see you then. Peace. Have a good one. See you in the tournament. Later.